The kind of evening Emily Carter had always feared was the kind that arrived without warning, quiet, coy, and heavy enough to make her feel every empty space in her life. Seattle's sky was darkening fast, rain sliding down her windows in long, restless trails. And Emily stood in the middle of her small but warm apartment, wondering how her life had become so still. She had spent years building routines that felt safe. Work, errands, a call to her sister once a week. Microwave dinners she pretended tasted better than they did. But somewhere along the way, she had stopped feeling seen, stopped feeling chosen, stopped feeling like love could happen for her. After all the disappointment she carried silently, she let out a long breath and tried to shake off the heaviness. But it clung to her like the humid chill from outside. She reached for the remote to distract herself with a movie when it happened a sudden, sharp knock at the door. Two quick taps that echoed through her hallway. Knock, knock. Her heart jumped. She wasn't expecting food, she hadn't ordered a package, and she hadn't told anyone to come over. For a moment, she stood perfectly still, listening to the rain and the soft hum of her heater, wondering if she had imagined it. But then the knock came again, gentle but certain. She walked to the door with a mix of curiosity and confusion. And when she opened it, her breath tightened. Standing there was Daniel Brooks, her old friend from college. Her almost something. Her once-in-a-lifetime maybe that she never quite understood, never quite lost, and never truly let go of. He looked nearly the same, warm brown eyes that always carried a hint of gentleness. Hair slightly messy from the rain. A look that made him seem like he had a story to tell. But there was something new, too. Something quieter. Something weighed down by years Emily had never witnessed. Emily. He breathed, giving her that soft smile she remembered so painfully well. I'm sorry to just show up like this. I should have called. She blinked, trying to gather her thoughts. Daniel, what are you doing here? It's been 8 years, he finished. No, too long. The rain hit the pavement behind him, filling the silence between them. Emily felt old memories brushing up against her heart like soft waves, study nights, almost confessions. Moments where their hands nearly touched before one of them pulled away. Daniel shifted awkwardly, lifting the small suitcase he had set down. I had a job thing nearby. I wasn't sure you still lived here, honestly. I wasn't sure you'd open the door. There was a tremble in his voice. Not from the cold, but from something real, something vulnerable. Emily stepped aside before she even thought about it. No, come in. It's okay, really. He stepped inside slowly, like he was entering a memory rather than a home. The warm air met his cold jacket, and for a moment it felt strangely familiar between them, as if time had folded in on itself. He looked around the living room with a soft sigh. Some things never change, she said. Emily smiled faintly. Some things do. He turned to her, and for a brief second, she saw everything they had never said reflected in his eyes. They talked at first awkwardly, then naturally. Conversation slipped into place the way it always had with them. They sat on opposite ends of her couch, knees nearly touching, and shared stories about lost opportunities, family struggles, work exhaustion, and life paths that hadn't gone the way they once imagined in the optimism of their early 20s. Daniel's voice softened. I always wondered about you. Wondered if you were okay. Wondered if he stopped and rubbed the back of his neck. Wondered about a lot of things. Emily felt something shift in her chest, something warm she wasn't sure she was ready for. She had thought the past was settled. She had thought the version of Daniel she knew existed only in her memory. But sitting there, listening to him speak with that careful honesty she always admired, she felt the years between them collapsing. And then, just when the moment felt like it was opening into something deeper, another knock. Slow, firm, almost too perfectly timed. Emily looked at Daniel, startled. He lifted an eyebrow, half smiling. Expecting someone else? Not at all, she said, rising quickly. She hurried to the door, wondering who else would possibly show up on a rainy night like this. When she swung the door open, her heart jolted again, but in a very different way. Ryan Hales stood there, her neighbor, her friend, her quiet, Steady, always their presence. Ryan with his storm blue eyes and calm voice. The man who helped her carry groceries when her hands were full. Who checked her porch light without being asked. Who lingered at her door after casual conversations as if he wanted to say something more but always held it back. He was the gentle force in her life she had grown used to without realizing how much she depended on his presence. Tonight, though, he wasn't wearing his relaxed half-grin. His expression was uncertain, almost guarded. His eyes flicked over her shoulder, landing on Daniel sitting inside. "Oh," Ryan said softly, "I didn't know you had company." His voice was calm, but Emily could hear something beneath it, something vulnerable, almost like disappointment. "I was just checking in," he added, clearing his throat. "The lights in the building flickered earlier, and I wanted to make sure you were okay." It was such a Ryan thing to do. Thoughtful, simple, genuine. She felt warmth rise in her chest. "That's really kind of you. Thank you." Daniel stood from the couch, polite but slightly stiff. "Hi, I'm Daniel, old friend." Ryan nodded, offering a careful smile. Ryan, neighbor. The tension was subtle but unmistakable. Like two different stories, meeting for the first time on the same page, Emily realized. With a deep breath that she had never seen Ryan look unsure before. He was always steady, always confident in that quiet way of his. But seeing another man in her living room had shaken him just a little. She invited Ryan inside, partly because it felt rude not to, and partly because she didn't know how to send him away without hurting him. He stepped in slowly, brushing the rain from his jacket. Taking a seat on the armchair across from Daniel, the small living room suddenly felt charged. Not with conflict, but with emotion, gentle, complicated, unexpected emotion. Emily sat between them, feeling her pulse quicken. Too many both good, both familiar in completely different ways, were now sharing the same space. The air felt warm and tense, like something important was about to shift. Ryan leaned forward, his hands clasped. "I didn't mean to interrupt," he said quietly. "I just wanted to be sure you weren't alone during the storm." Daniel glanced at Emily, a knowing look in his eyes. "Seems like you've got someone looking out for you." Emily swallowed hard. The room felt too warm suddenly. She tried to lighten the moment. "It's just one of those nights, I guess. Everyone shows up at once." Bet neither man laughed. Instead, both watched her with a softness she wasn't used to. Daniel with memories in his eyes. Ryan with concern written across his face. She realized something then. Something that made her heart tremble. Both men cared. Both had chosen this moment to show up. Both had knocked on her door, without knowing the other existed. It made her feel something she hadn't allowed herself to feel in a long time. Wanted. Not for the sake of ego, not for drama, but for genuine connection. Daniel finally broke the silence. "I hope I didn't cause any trouble by showing up tonight." Ryan looked at her then, really looked, as if he was searching for an answer she wasn't ready to give. Emily shook her head gently. "No, you didn't. It's just unexpected. That's all." Ryan's voice softened. "You matter, Emily. I just wanted you to be okay." Her chest tightened at those words. Daniel watched her carefully. "You always mattered to me, too." She felt the air shift again, heavy, warm, emotional. She didn't know what any of it meant yet. She didn't know what the next hour or the next day would bring. But she did know one thing. This night would change something. Maybe everything. She stood slowly, trying to steady her breath, her hands, her heart. "I think," she whispered, "tonight is the kind of night that shows you more than you expect." Outside, the storm rumbled softly, almost gently now, as if the sky itself was listening, and inside her apartment, Emily Carter's quiet life had finally begun to move. The storm outside hadn't stopped, but it had softened into a steady patter against the windows. Inside Emily Carter's apartment, the atmosphere was thick with tension, curiosity, and an unexpected warmth that made her chest pound. She had never felt so caught between two people, two different worlds in one single night. Daniel Brooks sat on the sofa, suitcase forgotten, watching her with a careful mix of hope and hesitation. Ryan Hale rested on the armchair, shoulders slightly forward, eyes steady and concerned. And in the middle of it all stood Emily, uncertain, overwhelmed, and strangely alive. The room smelled faintly of rain and tea. A comforting combination, but nothing could mask the flutter of anticipation. Emily realized almost painfully that her life had been quiet for too long. Safe, yes, but quiet. And tonight, everything felt alive. Ryan broke the silence first, his voice low and measured. "I didn't mean to intrude, The lights flickered and I thought you might need someone." He hesitated, swallowing, before continuing. I care about you, Emily, more than I probably should." Daniel's eyes softened, and he shifted slightly, leaning back. "I've always cared too. You've been in my mind for years. And tonight, I realized I couldn't let another moment pass without seeing you again." Emily's breath caught. Two men, both honest, both open, both showing parts of themselves she had never fully known she needed. One was the familiar past, the other a quiet present. And her heart had no easy way to choose. She sank onto the sofa beside Daniel, glancing at Ryan in the armchair. I don't know what to say," she admitted, her voice trembling slightly. "I never expected both of you here at the same time." Ryan leaned forward, elbows on his knees, giving her his full attention. "Then don't say anything yet. Just listen. Just feel this moment. That's enough for now." Daniel reached toward the small table between them, brushing his fingers against Emily's hand briefly. The touch was light but electrifying, a spark she hadn't felt in years. He looked at her, waiting, but also giving her the space to pull away. Emily noticed the gentle patience in his gaze, the care with which he approached her heart. Her pulse quickened as Ryan spoke again. "I know Daniel's been part of your life for a long time, and I know I'm just someone next door. But I need you to understand something. I'm here. I've been here quietly, waiting, hoping. I didn't want to push, but I can't ignore how I feel anymore." Emily's mind whirled. To people, two types of love, both genuine, both patient in their own way. She realized how much she had built walls around herself, telling herself that she was fine alone, that she didn't need anyone. But here in this room, seeing their faces, hearing their words, she finally understood how lonely her safe life had really been. The rain continued, tapping a rhythm that matched the quickening of her heart. Daniel's voice broke the quiet again. "I've always wondered what it would be like if I had stayed in your life, if I hadn't let fear get in the way, and I can't wonder anymore." Ryan's expression softened, almost gentle, almost forgiving. "I've seen you grow into this incredible woman. I've watched you quietly handle everything. And I realize tonight that I don't want to just watch anymore. I want to be part of your story." Emily's chest felt tight, heavy with emotion. She had always been careful with love, cautious, protective. But the honesty in the room now was undeniable. Both men were showing their hearts. Not for selfish reasons, not for games, but because they genuinely wanted to share this life with her. She stood slowly, moving toward the window, letting the rain mist her face as she tried to calm her racing thoughts. Both Daniel and Ryan watched her with a kind of reverent patience, waiting for her to speak, waiting for her to decide something she wasn't sure she could yet. Finally, she turned toward them, voice soft but steady. "I've spent years convincing myself that being alone was enough. That love was too complicated, too risky. But tonight, I feel it again. I feel hope and I feel warmth, and I feel like I can't ignore it anymore." Daniel leaned forward slightly, a small smile tugging at his lips. "Then don't ignore it. Let's figure this out together." Ryan nodded, his hands clasped loosely. "No pressure, just honesty. That's all I'm asking. Let's start with that." Emily sank back onto the sofa, her fingers brushing against Daniel's again. But her eyes remained on Ryan. She realized the truth. She didn't have to choose immediately. She didn't have to decide who would stay and who would leave. Tonight wasn't about choosing. It was about recognizing what she truly needed. "I want honesty," she whispered, almost to herself. I want to feel everything without pretending it's nothing. I want to see if this, whatever this is, can be real." The room felt like it held its breath. Daniel's eyes softened, understanding the weight of her words. Ryan's expression was patient, almost protective, as if he would wait for her to open completely in her own time. They sat there, the three of them, listening to the rain and each other's breathing. The storm outside no longer seemed like something to hide from. It was part of the night, part of the shared experience, part of the moment that had been waiting for them without their knowing. Emily felt her heart expand, realizing she could allow herself to feel something more than safety, more than routine. She could allow herself to feel love, genuine, honest, patient love. She could allow herself to let the past and the present meet without rushing. Without fear, Daniel broke the silence finally, his voice soft, almost a whisper. "I don't expect anything. I just want tonight to be real and for you to know that I'm here." Ryan echoed the sentiment, his voice steady. "I don't expect anything either. Just, let's be real. Let's see where it goes together, honestly." Emily smiled, a quiet, emotional smile that reflected relief, hope, and longing. She realized that love didn't have to be a choice between two extremes. Love could be nuanced. Love could be patient. Love could wait for her to open her heart fully, without judgment, without pressure. She moved slightly closer to Daniel, and he brushed her hand again with the gentlest touch. Then she looked at Ryan, who offered a small nod, reassuring her that he would wait. The balance of attention, care, and patience in the room was almost overwhelming, yet comforting in a way she had never experienced before. "Maybe this is how it's supposed to be," she whispered. "Not rushed, not forced, just real." Daniel leaned back, smiling softly, understanding that this moment mattered more than anything they could plan. Ryan's gaze remained on her, patient and kind, a reminder that love could be steady as well as passionate. The rain slowed, leaving only soft drops against the windows, a quiet symphony that matched the new rhythm of Emily's heart. She realized she could breathe again, that she could feel again, that she could trust again. "Tonight," she said softly, "I'm ready to see what honesty feels like. I'm ready to let my heart speak, even if it trembles." Daniel's voice was almost reverent. "Then let it speak. I'm listening." Ryan's voice was steady, patient, full of warmth. "We're both listening always." Emily's smile widened, filled with tears she refused to hold back. For the first time in years, she felt completely alive, completely human, completely capable of love again. The storm outside finally stopped, leaving only the faint sound of distant thunder and the scent of wet earth. Inside, Emily Carter, Daniel Brooks, and Ryan Hale sat together, sharing a moment that was raw, emotional, and beautiful. It was the kind of night that would stay with her forever. The night when the door opened, when two hearts stepped in, and when she realized she could allow herself to feel everything she had denied for so long. Emily leaned back, looking at both of them, feeling the warmth of the room and the sincerity of their hearts. She didn't know what tomorrow would bring. She didn't know how the story would unfold. But she knew one undeniable truth. She had opened her heart to possibility, to honesty, and to love that was patient, real, and waiting. And that, she realized, was enough to begin everything anew.